Wow! That was a weird wow. But Liverpool's overnight midfield makeover has just destroyed everything we ever thought about this club. Liverpool having a stale, plodding midfield, devoid of any real creativity or spark, that was something that was a fact. That those seasoned Liverpool winners were now about as energetic as the Castle Fawlty Towers if they did a reboot in 2023. Yeah, I'm pretty sure someone would have to feed John Cleese's dinner through a straw. But now, overnight, Liverpool's midfield is all sorts of wow. I mean, poor Harvey Elliott, poor Curtis Jones. Because right now, I can only imagine that they're sitting in a swimming pool, depressed, and using hamburgers to clean their eyes. Yeah, I mean, invite either one to a barbecue now, and every time they get a Liverpool transfer update on their phone, they'll probably try to burn their face on the grill. Liverpool's midfield makeover has shocked me. In the same way I'd be speechless if I saw Melissa McCarthy after successful liposuction, and she was now able to wear skinny jeans without causing people to drive their cars off the road. Because lads, let me tell you what Liverpool have done, and are doing. Dominik Szoboszlai is a freak. Yes, his name is annoying. Trying to spell that monstrosity of a word, it's a bit like trying to count how many wrinkles there are on Patrick Stewart's face. Now, I think I'm naturally a pretty good speller, but even me, looking at this Scrabble nightmare, I mean, it's like feeding your cat alphabet soup, and 3 hours later, watching her vomit it on the rug. Imagine the poor guys working in Liverpool's club shop who have to try and print this fella's name on the back of a child's shirt. I mean, you're so scared you'll ruin that ginger 11-year-old's Christmas, you'll probably literally need to try and Google his name on your phone. I think we all feel a bit dyslexic looking at this. I mean, I thought Wojciech Szczesny's name was the biggest headache in world football. But this, I legit have a migraine just staring at this on Wikipedia. But this man is absolute class. And the fact that Liverpool tied up a £60 million deal from RB Leipzig virtually unopposed. I know Newcastle United were also linked, but I'm sorry, just because some chubby journalist spread a fake rumor on Twitter whilst his mouth was stuffed with donut and chips, it doesn't make it true. By the way, lads, if you're new, hit subscribe. Very, very simple. Try and overtake Rory Jennings. Hit that big fat red subscribe button. You absolute legends. Back into the video. I already know Szoboszlai is going to enrage opposition footballers. Not only is he a stupidly good player, not only is his technique through the roof, but he also winds up fans. Like after the Pokal Cup final winner for Eintracht Frankfurt, a Frankfurt fan was literally screaming insults at him in the crowd, and all Big Dom does is smile and repeatedly kiss his winner's medal. This guy isn't just a sniveling, meek bookworm in a football shirt. He's not someone who'd probably cry if someone insults his mum. He's not someone with all the aggression of Mowgli off the Jungle Book. No, he's got a nasty streak in him too. But you know what makes him even more infuriating? He's like if Jamie Vardy or Bruno Fernandes were handsome. For rival fans, how can you possibly insult this guy, knowing full well that he can steal your wife with one wink of his eye? He's like Ronaldo when he was 21. You could stick him on a version of Love Island in Hungary. Although, ironically, I'm guessing half the cast are constantly hungry. I mean, don't they just live on a diet of celery sticks and grass? I don't know, I haven't seen the show, but I can only imagine they do get sick in the toilet after every meal. This man was always destined to join Liverpool. I mean, guys, well, he's got a literal Steven Gerrard quote tattooed on his arm, which surprises me. Stevie G, world-class player, yes, but never really struck me as an eloquent speaker. Yeah, of course! I mean, he wasn't exactly football's answer to Martin Luther King. In fact, I would argue that half the reason he sacrificed a career in punditry on BT Sport to instead go and live in a desert, swapping his dog for a camel who may or may not bite off his daughter's head, is because really he is less articulate than a statue of Batman. But come on, can you really envisage Szoboszlai ever growing up to be in Manchester United's midfield when he's got a literal Stevie G quote on his arm? It'd be like walking down the aisle to marry someone from Japan when you've got a tattoo of Logan Paul on your chin. But just look at Szoboszlai's highlights on YouTube. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Okay, right now, I know that's probably the catchphrase of Tiger Woods in a brothel, but still, look at this man's skills and goals on the internet. And I promise you, you'll be drooling over your keyboard. And especially for Liverpool fans who've been starved of seeing midfield magic ever since Coutinho left. For them, for these long-suffering fans who've complained about such a stale midfield for years, honestly, they have talked about their midfield as if they were a snooty businessman who went to a restaurant and were served a steak that had been sitting in the kitchen's bin for 6 weeks. Yeah, by now it probably just tastes like a peppery bar of soap. But for those fans, to be able to watch Szoboszlai's refreshing and youthful skills, again, it would be like finding an orphan who's been living homeless on the streets for a year and making them watch a tutorial of how to cook a birthday cake. I know it is stupid to talk about Liverpool's midfield makeover when they literally have Thiago Alcantara on their books, one of the slickest, most delicious midfield ballers of the 21st century. And I know it is almost sacrilege for Liverpool fans to even dare to admit that he was a flop, but let's call a spade a spade. Should I be the one to say it? I mean, is everyone else too scared to admit the truth? I didn't realize this was such a delicate subject. I mean, it's a bit like a middle-aged mom admitting that she doesn't love her son. But I mean, what's the big deal? My mom tells me that all the time.
God, I wish I took the pill.
But I will say it. Thiago has been a flop. Don't forget the expectation levels when he joined. They were through the roof. Liverpool had just won the Premier League with 99 points. And we're now buying the best player from the best team in Europe. A Bayern Munich team who just smashed the treble. They just scored 8 goals past Barcelona. People were legitimately saying that with an elite, world-famous superstar like Thiago added into the mix, then the Premier League title race will be done by Halloween. I mean, this is the tweet I put out in September 2020.
Thiago Alcantara hasn't not won the league since 2012.
And as you can see, I also put in that emoji of Bugs Bunny's eyes. But I think the tweet I then put out in December sums his time up a lot more.
Since 2012, Daniel Sturridge has missed 120 games through injury. Since 2012, Thiago Alcantara has missed 135 games through injury. Mental.
That is the true story of his Anfield career. This Spanish-Brazilian baller is a magician, who I'm sorry would have and should have been the perfect heir to Andres Iniesta at Barcelona. I mean, why they chose to sell him to Germany aged 22 makes about as much sense as Taylor Swift's success. I mean, she just sounds like a duck screaming for help. Clearly the footballing gods have given Thiago a body that's about as brittle as a Toy Story doll. I mean, of all the movies in the world, the bloke probably relates to Samuel L. Jackson's character in Glass and Unbreakable the most. I mean, anyone who's seen those films will understand what I'm saying. Thiago would probably pull a hamstring just pouring a glass of milk. Every time he goes to the cinema, even spilling some popcorn in his lap probably results in a dead leg. He has missed 67 games through injury for Liverpool. He has not started a match since losing 3-0 at Wolves in February. He has played 97 times for Liverpool, 3 goals and 6 assists. To put it in context, he had similar appearances playing for Barcelona as a child, 11 goals and 20 assists. He is a world-class footballer who's only been world-class for Liverpool a handful of times. Yes, he looked delicious when the club destroyed Arsenal and Man United both with 4 goals to 0. Yes, he was superb in that FA Cup semi-final winner for Man City, and he had his moments in the Champions League, but mostly an absolute disappointment. If Liverpool fans don't agree that he's a flop, then I can only assume that you're living in denial. A bit like those obsessive super fans who won't admit that The Simpsons stopped being funny in 2002. Thiago would have been perfect for Manchester City. We've seen him play for Pep Guardiola at both Barcelona and Bayern Munich. That was the obvious move in 2020. He's a Pep player, not a Klopp player. Klopp should have been his enemy. Seeing a Guardiola general like him instead link up with Liverpool. Again, it's like seeing KSI joining forces with Logan Paul to now bring out a drink that sponsors Arsenal, Barcelona and the UFC. Just weird. Lads, in my head, Ilkay Gundogan was a Klopp player, Thiago was a Pep player. They've got their clubs mixed up. I'm sorry, I know this is a tangent, but he has been linked to the move away to the Saudi Pro League, and I just had to be the one to say it. Someone has got to call this bloke out for being a Liverpool flop. I mean, come on, he's got more yellow cards for Liverpool than he has goals and assists combined. For a treble winner and one of the best players in the world, that is not my idea of success. Am I nuts? Am I crazy? Or has he been a flop who's been let off the hook? But lads, some Liverpool fans owe their owners an apology. 3 months ago, they were devastated because Jude Bellingham, the golden child in their eyes, the future of Liverpool, I mean, the owners pulled out of the race and he moved to Real Madrid. Liverpool fans saw the club's decision to pull out of this race as almost a criminal offence. Acting like a spoiled child on Christmas Day when they realised they didn't get that Louis Vuitton teddy bear. Yeah, of course not. Because it costs £2 million and your dad works at Boots. I said this in March, before they pulled out of the race.
Jude Bellingham is a good player, not worth 130 million. FSG are right to look elsewhere.
I know it wasn't 130 million in the end. It's instead a potential 115 million. But if they had engaged in a bidding war with Madrid, it probably would have been 130 mil. By the way, speaking of Bellingham tweets,
Michael, I've got one promise to you, my friend. When we sign Jude Bellingham, I will fly over and be with you when you get that tattoo of Jude Bellingham on your hand. I will happily sit there and hold your hand as you go through that process, Michael. That is my promise, sir, to you.
Yeah, nobody has held my hand since 2010. And even that was my uncle wanting to play naked chess. Although, again, speaking of Bellingham tweets, this was me back in 2020.
Open Martins won this club a trophy wearing this number on his back. But no, let's retire it for a kid who scored less goals than my cat.
Yeah, this tweet aged terribly, and not just because the cat is dead, but Bellingham is now a Galactico. Clearly, lockdown was frying my brain like a Twix in the oven. Liverpool pulled out of the race because they didn't want to waste time trying to compete with the biggest club in the world when they're now in the Europa League. Real Madrid could offer Bellingham the world. Liverpool will be trying to talk up the prospect of a second-tier European final in Dublin, which is a bit like a dentist trying to convince Shane McGowan to brush his teeth. Bellingham would have said no anyway, but even if he had said yes, that is the whole budget chucked on one midfielder. What if he gets an injury? What if he doesn't perform? People seem to forget he's not Premier League proven. People seem to automatically assume that every English footballer is suited to the Premier League. But I mean, Jadon Sancho was the same. Borussia Dortmund superstar, but moves to Manchester United has been utter chocolate pants. But what Liverpool are doing is terrifying. The ability of Szoboszlai is scary. And a £40 million deal for Alexis MacAllister, a Brighton superstar and world champion, don't forget. That is smart business too. I mean, forget the silkiness and swagger on the ball. Liverpool have just added 2 free kick experts. Next season, there's probably going to be actual fights on the pitch, with these 2 squabbling with Trent over free kicks. Honestly, these 3 are so hungry to score 100 goals. It will probably be the most aggressive game of rock, paper, scissors you will ever see. I bet I get Sesame Street crossed with the Sopranos. And then there's the defensive linchpin they're signing too. Apparently they've now walked away from talks to sign Nice midfielder Kefir Thuram, one of Lillian's kids, and are now focusing on a £50 million deal for Romeo Lavia. Yeah, you thought, I thought, we all thought that Liverpool had stopped buying from Southampton. After signing Dale Lovren, Adam Lallana, Nathaniel Klein, Ricky Lambert, Sadio Mane and Virgil van Dijk, I thought they were done. The restraining order had been enforced. Or the Reds had just realised they drained the club dry. They'd finally left them alone for nearly 6 years now. And with Southampton now in the championship mud, Liverpool are once again back like a home-wrecking vampire. Although, will apparently pay £50 million for Romeo Lavia, which will be the biggest paycheck ever written to a championship club. And lads, Lavia is absolute mustard. He's a 19-year-old midfield superstar who Manchester City will regret letting go. Absolutely different players, yes, but he will be to Manchester City what Kevin De Bruyne is to Chelsea. The one that got away, and guess what? They're both Belgian too. In fact, the only reason he was signed for City is because of De Bruyne, as Kevin was the co-organizer of the Belgian Under-15 tournament, the KDB Cup, and he actually invited Guardiola to come and watch in 2019, where he spotted Lavia playing for Anderlecht. And then he was a standout star for the Man City Under-18s, and he even played for the first team in the League Cup and FA Cup against Wickham and Swindon. But now, he is going to be a £50 million Liverpool superstar. All going well? I mean lads, a bit like watching Thiago playing for his title rival enemy. Guardiola now seeing the child he handpicked out of Belgian football himself to see the kid he scouted with his bare eyes now be Fabinho's heir at Anfield. Don't you tell me that will not sting. Don't tell me he will be waking up 4 times a night to ring up the city accountants and scream at them for cashing in. Lads, this is a terrifying midfield makeover. To bring in MacAllister, Szoboszlai and potentially Lavia for about £150 million? How can Liverpool fans possibly complain? This is extraordinary business. If Liverpool were in the Champions League, then sure, they could rival for a huge, massive name that everybody else wants, like a Declan Rice. But the Reds are usually more clever than that. Aside from Thiago, which was a weird deal, I can only remember Liverpool ever doing that once, signing a proven world superstar who all the big clubs were after, and that was Fernando Torres in 2007. I mean, Virgil van Dijk had interest, sure, but I mean, world superstar? No, at the time, Southampton centre-back, who had the exact same levels of hype as Harry Maguire. I mean, same goes for Sadio Mane. Back in 2016, was just a mid-table winger. Mo Salah was seen as a Premier League failure. Bobby Firmino was a massive Bundesliga risk. Even Luis Suarez, what did Ajax? The only other team who were in for him were Tottenham. I mean, Andy Carroll had more hype on the day he was signed. He was not a worldwide name. Torres was. He had everyone after him, and he is the last truly humongous name this club have signed. These 3 hungry, exciting, youthful talents are exactly the profile which fits with Liverpool's history of recruitment. But I saw one of them is even from Southampton. This fits, and in the blink of a month, Liverpool now have one of the strongest midfields in Europe. I know Jordan Henderson is now linked to the move to Al Ettifaq to join Gerrard, but I think there's more chance of that man agreeing to eat a garden gnome. These Liverpool signings are all going to be absolutely terrific, and this is overnight one of the greatest midfield makeovers I've ever seen in my life. Have we ever seen anything like this before? From any team ever? Let me know if there has been, because all I can think of is Manchester City in the summer of 2010. I mean, like Liverpool, they had also just lost out in the top 4 race, had to settle for the Europa League, and had just ended the season with a stale midfield of Nigel de Jong, Gareth Barry, and an elderly Patrick Vieira, with a fat Stephen Ireland sitting on the bench. But then they went out and signed James Milner, David Silva, and Yaya Toure. That's a bit like what I'm watching here. Szoboszlai is going to be elite Premier League world star. MacAllister will be an absolute gem and quality, while Lavia, don't forget, he's even younger than Bellingham and could have a genuine 15 years of Liverpool brilliance ahead of him. What you've done in this window takes my breath away. Anyway, that's from Lavia. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. How are all these players going to do? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give a like, share, comment as always. I'll talk to you in a while.